Just let me know. Okay, so today we'll be going over a very basic overview of Packet Tracer. So in case you guys didn't know, Packet Tracer is part of the Cisco Networking Challenge along with the actual quiz. And so all of the content you're going to want for Packet Tracer is on Netacad. So right here, I'll just be giving a brief tour of Netacad. Hopefully you all have checked it out for the first competition, for the first round. All right, so pages, content. Okay, and so last round was on modules 3 through 7, which is most of what I'll be covering right now. So so most of the commands you're gonna want for Packet Tracer are within the chapters themselves. And a really good way to review that you've picked up on all the skills you need for that chapter is through the skills integration challenge at the end of each. The login for your Netacad is in your personal emails. You should have gotten that like at the beginning of the year. It's through the email you signed with Sarah Patriots. Anyway, I'll be going over the skills integration challenge for module 7, which is Packet Tracer 3.4.1.2. So if any of you guys want to follow along, it's right here. Okay, so this is a pretty basic challenge, but most of what was on this lab was also in the round. So okay. So the scenario in this activity, 2 switches are completely configured. A third switch, which are responsible for assigning IP address to the switch virtual interface, configuring VLANs, assigning VLANs to interfaces, configuring trunking, and performing basic switch security. All right, so switches 2 and 3 are already configured, so we only have to worry about switch 3. Okay, so you're going to spend most of your time when configuring each switch inside of the CLI. So when you first open up a switch, it'll usually bring you to the physical. So just open up CLI. Where we are. Okay, and so within each switch, you're going to spend most of your time inside of the terminal. So to get there, you type in enable, or EN for short, and conf T, which stands for confirm terminal. So the first thing they want you to do is assign an IP address and a default gateway to the switch, right? So if you look at the addressing table, the interface VLAN 88 is under switch 3, right? So this is the only interface we have to assign an IP address to. Okay, and so to assign an IP address, we first have to interface to that VLAN 88. So this command is basically int for interface, VLAN, and then the VLAN number. Now to actually assign the IP address, you can type key space address, and 2 parts that go into this. One is the IP address itself, which is right here, and then the subnet mask attached to the end. Well, okay, so that looks like, I'll just copy and paste it. Okay, that's pretty simple. But right after you assign your IP address, you have to type in no shutdown or no shut for short. So this is what actually gets the IP address up. Let me make sure I just typed in the right IP address. Okay, yeah, just double checking. As for the default gateway, these commands very similar: IP default gateway and the default gateway address itself. So yeah, we've already gone through the first bullet point. Okay, now we have to create, name, and assign VLANs according to this table right over here. So I'll first start with creating and naming the VLANs. So you first need to type in VLAN and then the number to VLAN 10. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. If you see over here, right, the config dash something. So whenever you're interfaced into either a VLAN or a port, you want to see config dash if, right? And if you're configuring a VLAN like I am right now, it's config dash VLAN, right? Always make sure you're in the right location. Anyway, VLAN 10. So to name it, you just type in name and then the name they want, which is right here. VLAN 10 is sales. I'm just going to do that for each of the VLANs now. Spell that. Okay. All right. And the last one is a special kind of VLAN. It's a trunk part, which we'll be working with a little later. We still haven't named it, which is named later. Okay. Well, that took quite a bit of time. Now we actually have to assign the IP addresses to the VLAN. It's pretty similar to what we just did with assigning the IP address to VLAN 88. This time we're interfacing to ports. So for this, we look at this table. So if we're working with VLAN 10, we first have to interface into this range of ports. So to interface into a range, type int range, and then the range you want. So in this case, it's fast Ethernet 7 to fast Ethernet 12. Okay, and so what we're doing is that we're assigning a VLAN to this range of ports, right? So this would be the access mode. So switch mode access. Then to assign a VLAN to it, switch access 10. Yeah, okay. So basically what I just did is that I interface into a range of ports, I set it to the access mode, and then I assigned it to VLAN 10. Okay, so now we'll do that for each range of ports. I'm gonna try to do this a little faster. Okay. Okay, I think I went through all three. Yeah, I did. Okay. So the next thing it wants us to do is do the trunking. So restrict the trunk to only allow this range of VLANs. Okay, so similar to when we were assigning VLANs to ports, we also need to interface into a specific port, right? And as you can see, they didn't actually give us a port number, right? So to find the port, I'm not sure if this appears right, but I've been getting this error message since the beginning. So right here, and it says that there's a native VLAN mismatch discovered on gigabit Ethernet 0/2, right? So this is the interface we have to, well, this is the port that we need to interface into for trunking. So usually it's, gigabit Ethernet 0/2, but always make sure, double check with this message. So I'll interface into that. Okay, so this time instead of switching going to the access mode, you switch port mode into trunk. Okay, and you assign the name of VLAN, which is 99. Right over here. Switch port trunk native. Okay, and it also said to disable DTP, which stands for dynamic trunk protocol or something along those lines. Yeah, okay. So to disable that, you just need to type in switch port non-negotiate. Let's do the previous commands. Okay. So I think I had a typo earlier on, so should be entering those. Okay, yeah. Okay, so I just ran switch port non-negotiate and to only allow, and it also has to restrict the trunk port to only this range of VLANs, right? To do that, you want switch port trunk allowed VLAN and then the range of VLANs separated by commas. 10, 30, 8, and 99. Okay. All right, I think that's as far as you have to go with trunking. Yeah, okay, that's as far as we have to go with trunking. Moving on to slightly easier part is basic switch security. So for basic switch security, make sure you're in config and you're not interfaced into like a range of ports or into a VLAN. So the first thing it wants us to do is have a encrypted secret password if it's a secret. So what this means is, if you remember earlier, to access the terminal, you have to first type in enable, and then conf-key, right? So when we configure this, it'll require a password right after you type in enable, which is good. Okay, enable secret, secret. So that's a command for encrypted secret password. All right, for the console password, you type in line con 0 to access console. Again, make sure you're in config-line. Password and in. So the password command and the password. And type in the check. Okay. Now they want a VTY password of Cisco spelled really badly. So configuring a VTY is very similar to what we just did. It is line VTY 0 space 15. And then password space the password we want. And again, just type in login just to double check. Okay, so now they want us to encrypt plaintext passwords. And the command for doing that is really simple. Service password dash encryption. Okay. Finally, well, not finally, but they want a banner with the message of authorized access only. To assign a banner, it's a banner space MAPD, and then 2 stars, right? In between these 2 stars, you put your message. Sometimes they won't specify the message they want. So in those cases, something like authorized access usually works. Okay, and the final thing they want us to do is disable unused ports. So in order to disable the unused ports, we first need a list of all the ports, right? So we already know some of the ports, the ones that are being used, through this table. So to get a list of all the ports, you run the command do show one. What this does is it gives you a ton of information. What we're concerned about is the range of ports. So we start at fast Ethernet 1, and if you just hold enter, you see all the ports. So let's see, it's 1 faster Ethernet 1 through 24, and gigabit Ethernet 1 to 2, right? Okay. So looking at the ports you're actually using, so just compare all the ports to the ports you're actually using, right? To find the ports that need to be disabled. So I already did that ahead of time, and these are the ports. So this is capitalized by accident. You don't need to capitalize anything. So what I basically did is I interface into a range of ports. So F0, so fast Ethernet 1 to 5, fast Ethernet 7 to 10, and so on and so forth. With, gigabit Ethernet 1 at the end. So to shut all of them down at once, you just shut. Oh, shoot. Run shut. No shut is to bring them back up. Yeah. So run shut to turn them all off. Okay. So the final thing we want us to do is to configure port security on port F0/6. So again, you interface into that port. Okay. So to enable port security, you run switch ports port-security. So this in of itself doesn't really address any of these requirements, but it actually turns it on. So it wants only 2 unique devices to access the port. So switch security, switch port security, maximum number of devices. So again, in this case it's 2. Okay. All right, I can't spell anything for my life. There. Okay. All right, next they want all learn Macs are added to the running configuration. So I believe this is sticky. So the command for that is switch port security MAC address sticky, right? So if you've noticed, all the switch port commands begin with switch port and then port-security. So keep that in mind. They only differ in the last 2 arguments. Okay, and the final thing to do is secure the interface so that a notification is sent when there's a violation, but the port is not disabled. So I think on default, when there's a violation, the port is disabled. But in this case, we want it so that there's only a message sent. So switch port security, violation space restrict. Okay, and that should be it. That's 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100 points. Oh yeah, what's nice about the labs is that they actually tell you your points. And if you want to, in case, let's say you're like at 95 or like 96, you can click check results to see if you've got everything, right? So, I've configured all my VLANs, I've turned everything that needs to be off. Okay, but unfortunately, during the competition, they don't actually give you your points, right? Which really sucks. So one way to check that you've established connectivity at the very least is to ping from one PC to another PC, right? And so, so they're asking us to verify that the PCs in the same VLAN can now ping each other, right? So note that it's in the same VLAN. So in other words, let's see, which ones are in the same VLAN? To check which ones are on the same VLAN, you can look at the cables. So as you can see, PC4 is connected to Fast Ethernet 11, right? Which is in VLAN 10, I believe. And PC1 is also in Fast Ethernet 11, which is also in VLAN 10. So if we did everything correctly, PC4 should be able to ping PC1, right? So to test ping, you ping from one PC to another, you open up a PC, you click the desktop. There's a lot of stuff here. To actually ping, you go to the command prompt. Don't confuse it with the terminal. And you just type in ping and the IP address you want to ping to. IP table, PC1's IP is right over here. So let's copy and paste that. And hopefully you'll get a response. And hey, you got a reply. This means that it worked. So if it didn't work, let's say PC2. Wait, let me just double check. All right, so PC4 should not be able to access PC2, I think. Yeah, it should not. Okay. Okay, so we should not get a response back. Okay, we didn't get a response back, which is good. That means PC4 can't access what it isn't supposed to access. All right, so we've verified connectivity. Oh, one thing to note though is that using ping is a good way to check, if you configure your VLANs and your network properly. but it's not a good check for switch security, right, or port security. So just keep that in mind if you're double checking at the end. Yeah. Oh, there's one more thing I want to go over. So oftentimes in the competition, I think this happened last round too. They want you to assign a IP address and a subnet mask to the PC itself, right? So to do that, oh shoot, you go to desktop, IP configuration right over here. Sorry. And yeah, it's really simple. You just copy and paste um, what's in the table into here. So the IPv4 address is right over here, and the subnet mask is also in the table, and so on and so forth. I don't think we have to worry about IPv6, so, but it is covered in the textbook. So hopefully you guys should know what IPv6 is if you read the textbook. Okay, yeah. So that's about it, I guess. Yeah.
How should you practice this stuff?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
How could you practice? What's the best way to practice the packet tracer knowledge stuff in the textbook?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's my mic or yours. Sorry. Can you type in your question?
What's the best way to practice all of this stuff?
Oh, where's the best place to practice this?
Yeah.
Okay, it's all in Netacad, right? So if you want to understand the concepts behind of what I just did, I don't think I gave any definitions. I'm assuming that everyone knows what it is. If you don't, you can click on a module and start reading the chapter, right? To actually access the labs, like the lab I just did, they're at the end of each module, right? So the one I just did was under module 7, the packet tracer lab. So
Which
yeah.
module should you start at?
Okay. Yeah, so last round was modules 3 through 7. So if you've already read chapter 7, you should start at this packet tracer. Oh yeah, just as a heads up though, like for some reason, the packet tracer lab for module 3 and module 4 are like way harder than modules 5 through 6. So just keep that in mind. It's because for these two modules, the textbook is different. So yeah. So if you want something like a very beginner kind of, if you like want something very easy, you should do module 5's packet tracer lab, which is very simple. Yeah, it's just filling your IP addresses. No, they actually give you all this information. Anyway, being derailed. Yeah, so all of the packet tracer labs and the textbook information is in here. Oh, where can we find the commands? Okay. So the commands are mostly in the chapters themselves, right? So you can like skim the chapters for the commands if you don't want to actually read them. I recommend reading them for the quiz. Oh, one thing you can do is that if you're having trouble doing the actual lab, right? Like let's say you don't know a command for something, you can like Google, Google it. It's actually Netacad has a really good forum for it, and you can also watch tutorials on YouTube for the specific packet tracer. So if you need help on, let's say, this packet tracer, just go in YouTube and ask, Skills Integration Challenge 1.3.1.3. There's some really good videos on how to do these. But again, I recommend doing it through the actual chapter because then you'll actually pick up on the concepts. So yeah. This is all on Netacad, by the way. So does everyone know how to access the Netacad account? All right, I'm hoping yes. Okay. Yeah.